Welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. I'm your host, Shafiu Suleiman. On today's show, we'll be exploring some of the most pressing issues in the world of politics, policy, and governance. We start with the story that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has convened a stakeholder summit in Abuja to address the rising influence of money in the electoral process. Trust TV reports that the police and officials from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, among other critical stakeholders, attended the summit. Take a look.
The summit is coming 68 days to the presidential and National Assembly elections. It is part of the preparation for a free, fair, and credible election.
The negative role of money in elections goes to the very heart of our democracy. It destroys the very basis of democratic elections, which is that citizens should freely choose those who exercise power on their behalf. It renders the emergence of the right candidates for positions extremely difficult.
Of course, use of money cannot be totally ruled out in the conduct of elections because money is needed in propagating ideals of political parties and of candidates.
The law enforcement agencies also gave assurance of cooperation in fighting against the issue of vote buying during elections, calling on all political parties to play by the rules.
I therefore want to urge all Nigerians desirous of a better future not to be cajoled into relinquishing their rights to good governance, but to make deliberate and concerted efforts aimed at informed choices when casting their votes. We must collectively work together to ensure that the narrative around the current practice of deceptive election as that will not only translate to the flawed political recruitment process, but will result in a great disservice to our dear country, Nigeria.
Concerted efforts are being made by the Nigerian police as lead agency in the electoral security management to ensure that the use of money is not allowed to influence the 2023 general elections, or at least ensure that this menace is brought to the barest minimum.
Director General, National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, Balarabe Ilya, warns media houses against giving politicians platform to insult other politicians.
I use this medium to admonish the broadcast stations again to be wary of money thrown to them. I enjoin you to accept money for campaign coverage and political advertisements in strict compliance to this provision of the rules.
There have been disturbing reports of politicians buying permanent voters' cards considered critical to free, fair, and credible elections, which play a critical role in political transition by advancing democratization and encouraging political liberation.
Dr. Doyin Okupe, a former special advisor to the President on Public Affairs, was found guilty by an Abuja Federal High Court of diverting money meant for purchasing weapons from the National Security Advisor's Office. On Monday, Justice Ijeoma Ojukwu ruled that the prosecution had established a case of money laundering against Okupe and fined him a total of 30 million naira. At the moment, Okupe serves as the Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council's Director General. He was indicted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, in 2019 on 59 counts relating to money laundering and diverting 240 million naira from Colonel Sambo Dasuki, the then NSA. Also, presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC Bola Tinubu says he will prioritize the reforms in the pension and mortgage systems in the country if elected president. Tinubu, who made the promises at a parley with the organized labor and civil society in Abuja, also says his administration will have zero tolerance for corruption by making life affordable to the people. Here is the report. Responding to demands of the organized labor, the APC presidential candidate says addressing the plight of workers and the ordinary people, in addition to deploying technology, is a panacea to tackling corruption in the country. He also highlighted his past record of fighting corruption while serving as Lagos State Governor. lashing at the PDP for spending $16 billion without fixing electricity problem in the country.
There are so many poor families in Lagos alone. Nobody paid for any examination fee before I left the office. No one, no matter how poor you are, you can't drop out. No one is left behind. Now you have a federal government. Put me in charge. There will be student loans. 4 years course will be 4 years only.
Tinubu says reforming the nation's pension administration and creating an effective and affordable mortgage system will provide relief to the Nigerian workforce, while assuring of setting up agricultural processing zones in the country to make it attractive and profitable.
We must do more to address the social needs of workers and improve the wages. We must do more to support housing, pension, mortgage reforms, like it has been already mentioned by Comrade Oshiomhole. Why do you get employed now for 30 years job and they make pension contribution, and it's time to put a shelter on your head? They ask you to bring 8 to 10 million deposit.
Leaders of the organized labor said their members across the country will align with social progressives to move the country forward.
See, one important issue, which I think is also important to every Nigerian, is the issue of the quality of education that we have today. It's so unfortunate that as we speak, 20 million of our kids are out of school. That cannot be acceptable, and I think that should be a concern. If we breed a group of people that are uneducated, then we are breeding insecurity, we are breeding also social instability in our country.
Today, the minimum wage is 30,000 naira. As when this was negotiated, and when the implementation started in 2019, what was the value of dollar? What was the real value of this 30,000 naira? But today, that 30,000 naira has depleted in value. Today, 30,000 naira cannot even pay our transport to work.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, APC governors, former NLC Chairman Adams Oshiomhole, amongst other party chieftains, attended the parley. As we all know, Nigeria is a country with a rich history of political parties and diverse viewpoints. However, in recent years, it seems that many politicians and parties have abandoned their ideologies in favor of winning elections at any cost. It is no secret that politicians in Nigeria frequently switch parties in search of the best chances of winning office. This trend has only increased in recent years, with some politicians hoping from one party to another multiple times in a single election cycle. This lack of political loyalty and commitment to ideology is a problem for a number of reasons. To discuss these issues and more, we are joined by Comrade Isa Aremu, a foremost unionist. Thank you for joining us.
Very well. Thank you so much. It's good to see you after you abandoned us in Kaduna.
Good to see you too, sir. Okay, also joining us for the discussion this evening is Baba Yusuf. Baba Yusuf is a strategist and, of course, a political affairs analyst. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, together we'll be looking at the issues very closely, but we have to take a break. When we return, the conversation begins. Thank you very much for staying with us. Still Daily Politics. The conversation now begins. Let me start with Comrade Isa Aremu. Before we go to our talking point, you've had the tidbits. let's start with the first one. Perhaps you may want to comment on it, talking about influence of money in our polity. Stakeholders converge, on Abuja to discuss way out. Just how much of impact is this money in politics in Nigeria?
Well, I'm not sure. At times we tend to make comments, as we must in a democracy, without backing them up with some data. And because it would be nice for the research department of INEC to give us what it was to run in national elections.
In terms of costs?
During the First Republic, Second Republic, and of course during the current dispensation. This is the 6th presidential election we are going to conduct since 1999, which is quite also very significant because it shows that Nigeria, we've run democratic process now uninterruptedly for the past 23 years. And it's a feat, and I think we should appreciate each other for that. I've also said so, that if you go to INEC website, I don't know what the figure looks like today, but as at last week, we have 84 million registered voters in Nigeria.
Now 96.2 million.
You got the point. So with that number, we are the democracy destination in Africa, the largest democratic country in Africa, in quantitative terms. Now, so what I want to say is that for me to talk of the costs of running election, we need the data. But the quick comment I want to make a few on this is that in a market economy like ours, based on demand and supply, with high costs of everything, inherently, liberal democracy, the bourgeois democracy, is an expensive business. Even INEC that speaks, go and check the budget for INEC for this year. 335 billion naira we are going to spend for 23 presidential elections. So as INEC is pointing one finger, even the cost of running democratic process, including the cost of counting the votes, is expensive beyond what the political parties, use the money.
But if I understand, the position of INEC, perhaps INEC is not looking at the cost of running the election, but then the cost, the influence of money in the polity. And this, some would say, is not far-fetched. We've seen how, the process leading to the conventions and the emergence of, presidential candidates and so on, where monies were said to have exchanged hands in millions or in billions, if you can put it that way. And today, it's still manifesting again. We're also seeing what the politicians are spending in terms of, in the name of what they call, what do you call it? These politicians talk about reaching out to us. So, going, from one place to the other to talk with stakeholders and what have you. Yes. So what do you make up with that?
Thank you very much. I think the conversation, your question is about the negative influence of use of money during election. Like Comrade mentioned, and it is a global standard. Money is a key critical success factor to delivering free, fair, and credible election. Albeit the downside of it, of using money to induce voters, the corrupt aspect of use of money for politicking, which, like you rightly said, has been clearly demonstrated in the recent elections, state elections, and even during the presidential primaries across parties. This is an across-party issue, and I think it's something that will gradually fade away as our as we evolve politically. Let me put it that way, because there are some fundamental issues that need to be addressed for you to say you have completely removed money inducement in our polity or politicking, so to speak. It will be hypocritical to say you are going to eliminate, inducements and all that, while some critical fundamental issues value systems, the economy, the economic situation, social economic issues are still there. However, as we progress and we are building up to the election, we just hope that the same INEC will ensure, just like I heard the INEC chairman reiterating the assurance of the functionality and the success of the usage of the BIVAS, which we believe is going to considerably, reduce the inducement during the election.
Or the rigging process.
Or the rigging process.
Right.
That remains to be seen.
That's right. Okay, let's take the other one. Doing Okupe, and this is it 2.1 billion US dollars was said. The monies were allegedly shared, by the former NSA. Still reverberating. Just at the peak of electioneering, we find the DG Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council being indicted for 2 years, convicted for two years in prison for money laundering. How does this, resonate with you?
Yeah, but it comes to the point I tried to make before. I'm as concerned with INEC about the influence of money in corrupting the political process. But I'm just thinking aloud that inherently, this kind of system we are running is prone to, money-induced activities, including the latest one you just reported about, because Doyo Kupai used to be in PDP, that's what made him to be vulnerable to this money through the former NSA, National Security Advisor. And he has moved on, like who I call butterfly politicians. He left PDP, now in the Labour Party.
But still vibrating.
It's collapse of ideology, as we are saying. There was once in Nigeria that if you leave a party for another one, if you left PRP for you to go to MPN, you are very young, you are not around that time, you'll be treated like leopard. If you left
SDP to NRC, for instance.
SDP to NRC, maybe you witness that. A little bit to the left, you dabble to the right. You will be collapsed. So now it's all about, it's about transaction. It's transactional politics. So I think my view is that it's time for us to replace transactional politics based on transaction of deals, money, to politics of development. What are you bringing to the table? Which also wrap up to the issue of cost of running election. I ran for election
I remember.
in 2019. And I know with my modest background and I know what it took me to run the election. In fact, the strategy of the electorate is that you must give them money.
They call it logistics, or?
Yeah, welfare. There are different names for it. And if you refuse, your party can sell you, including party members. And for me, that was a scandal. Because in the First Republic, it was amazing. If Zik went to Kano, as he could, to run under the NCNC, it was the party member that will contribute money to accommodate him. And that's why they have control over the party. They pay levies. Nice, so that we run.
That's right.
You buy them, and they are willing to be sold also. So I think it's not moral. We are not going to be doing ceremony. It's to change the pattern of politics in a way that people know that when you collect money, you are buying your future. There won't be water, there won't be light, because it's from the same pot. But that requires real ideological reorientation.
How do you even convince the people who are out for stomach infrastructure?
Yeah, it's not about convincing.
Somebody who has left his home with
absolutely. I agree with you, but the challenge is that all of us pay a price. But I'm optimistic, like Adam said, that maybe it's part of the process of evolution. Even though I thought it's what we did better before, that we're not doing worse. Maybe with time we have to return back to basics. As the case may be. But that of it's just a court case. It was a judgment. You may hear that it may be appealing, as they normally do. But for me, that also raises the point that we shouldn't judge party by their cover, by their names, because that's a scandal for a party, Labour Party, that you expect to make a difference
Exactly.
For his
yes, I've actually commented that.
DG,
Looking at
the DG of the campaign organization,
of the campaign, presidential campaign
this kind of
organization.
scandal.
Yeah, and this is an offense, he committed while in another political party. But rubbing up on the political party that is embraced now as the new home. And how does this perhaps affect the image of the party and its presidential
Even for the Labour Party
candidate?
to have taken him, given his ideological garbages or baggages, coming from extreme right-wing.
They didn't expect something like this.
Coming from extreme right-wing party like PDP to be accommodated in Labour Party, for me, that's collapse of values. And that's why some of us who are involved in the formation of this party, we have said, so Labour Party, this is not the one we know. This is not the one we conceived. No, I'm serious. When we were having Labour Party doing your coupe, without even having this judgment, couldn't have applied. Nobody will take him. But now it's transactional. Anything goes.
Yeah, but is it? I mean, because some will say, it's a cross-party.
No, absolutely, lines. I know, but we're just
because we've seen
brought this case studies.
Crossing of politicians.
I know.
Progressive, turn Democrats turn progressive, all in the name of. Okay.
Parties are just vehicles for power, not vehicles for development. But we need to change that in time.
Okay. How do you think this, perhaps going forward, especially for a political party that is evolving, how do you think it will rub up, to its image and, of course, chances ahead of the election? And how do you think, they can manage it also?
No impact, Chef Hugh.
Won't make any impact?
Yeah, because if you look at the whole, almost all the, with due respect to all political parties, look at what we call the frontline political parties, the All Progressives Congress, the People's Democratic Party, the Labour Party, and the New Nigeria People's Party. Almost all of them have candidates that are mired into one criminal, accusation or cases or whatever. Flag bearers, across positions, for the party at national and state levels. Up until today, you had the doing Okupe case. Almost every week there is one show or the other, either a conviction or a process of litigation or prosecution rather. So I think.
But here we're talking about corruption charges.
I'm heading there now. The political evolution of Nigeria thus far is what I term the progress of what we call in my place a well digger. The well digger is progressing, doing his job, and you ask him how far, he say we have gone far, but he's going deep.
He's going deep now.
I'll bet the objective is for him to hit water. What happens if he doesn't hit water? Like Comrade Aremu mentioned, if you go back to the First Republic and look at the value system, value orientation, and fast forward to where we are today with regards to this issue, then you ask yourself, are we evolving? Well, sadly, paradoxically, this is what we are doing. Probably what we need to do is to now say, moving forward as citizens, this is what we want as a people. What do we really want? Do we want to take these stipends, at the expense of 4-8 years? So the political parties know this as well. And that is why even when people with quote and unquote allegations or questionable character come on board, it doesn't matter. So long as you have, quote and unquote, in Nigerian political system, what you call political value, even if it is what you can call political nuisance value. The objective is to deliver, the mandate within the context of that party. What remains to be seen is at the end of the elections, who wins and who goes home to try another time. But it does not take away the pungent smell and the sad situation and the gory picture of corruption and its impact. And if during the process of campaigning and electioneering, politicians, whether candidates or party structure operatives are mired in corruption, and it is not an issue within the party, we are going to the subject of the day, ideology versus personal interest, or the citizens themselves looking at these people as role models that they are looking forward to vote for. Is what makes our situation, a paradox of a situation.
Yeah, some will still say, the lack of ideology also is across board now. Absolutely. It's not just about the politicians. Even the followership, if you like, Absolutely. Or the electorates Absolutely. Also are lacking in ideology. Absolutely. What they're after is perhaps, who would give what and all that. Yes, that's why perhaps you find out that in most cases they are not even members of political parties like we used to have. Comrade was talking about how political parties in the past were raising funds without necessarily waiting for the candidates. Now let's look at the comments made by the presidential candidate of the APC. You happen to be part of that engagement, quite a robust engagement with the labor unions and of course the private sector. The civil societies. They ask a fundamental question. I've had the NLC president talking about how does he intend to address corruption. But I don't know whether you find it fascinating hearing Tinubu actually talking about the root cause of corruption and how it can be addressed. What do you make up with that statement?
Well, first, I think on the outing today, I'm not sure, I've been haunted by my labor background, because when you introduced me, and rightly, labor activists, I've been projected in the image of a striker, of a unionist, which of course used to be the one reporting me. But you should know that I also wear many caps. I was the vice president of Nigeria Labour Congress. You became vice president of Industrial Global Union. But that was in the past. Today, you should define me in the present. I'm the director. I'm the director of Labour Directorate of All Progressive Congress. As a matter of fact, I coordinated today's robust engagement. So what I'm trying to say,
you've committed a sort of a class suicide now.
No, it's not class suicide.
From union activism to politics.
No, it's a continuation of, if you want to call it class struggle, but struggle nonetheless.
Okay.
And why we do so? Well, Adam Baba is a strategist and co. But some of us have also realized the limitation of unionism, of activism. We need to be involved. We should stop agonizing. We should organize to be part of the process. When you talk of the First Republic, they're all unionists. Zik was one, yes. Malam Aminu Kano was one, Michael Imodu, who's my institute is named after. But they realized that, Aluta, story continue, you must be on the table. So we must be politically involved. And today, we've tried to bring a change, to put issues in the politics, to link ruling party, presidential candidate, together with organized labor. And today's discussion, for me, very robust. The media should promote this kind of discussion, not these rallies, bringing people around. Let there be critical meeting, market women, Nigerians at work, NLC, and you could see today it's all about productivity, about compensation, about corruption. As well as you sat down, you went back to take questions, answers,
respond to some of the issues raised.
Compared to, all the stories that we're hearing about, he wasn't articulate, he was at the best today. I'm so happy about your tape. And for me, we are now bringing issues into politics. And throughout that discussion today, you can't say people are asking, how much can we be paid, how much can we not be paid?
But when you talk issues.
About the issues, and about light, about electricity, and its response to how to fight corruption, extremely very well informed. I'm so proud of Asiwaju's response.
Even though they're also not asking about the past.
They're
asking about the present.
What was the past? Wait, no, let me ask you. You also mentioned a point, and I think we should be, because I'm so proud of your platform, because you are in the open, you are registered. Nobody should be declared to be corrupt or a criminal, or still you are convicted.
That's right.
We are discussing doing now because it's convicted. You can't say any of those candidates, presidential frontline. No, I'm serious. And I'm proud we have 18 political parties, all of them have candidates, and they are passed through all the checks. Until they are called, don't say they are.
But they're also subject to scrutiny, public scrutiny.
No, of course it's on. Oh, I'm okay, but not public scrutiny, no public prosecution and trial. So, but what I'm saying is that, back to Asiwaju, it says so, if I if I heard him very well, and I'm very sure you are there, is to say that we should go beyond what you call kinetic approach to corruption. Arrest them, jail them. What are the fundamental causes?
What are the causes?
Pay workers very well. Remunerations, public officers.
Okay, it's about
then
time.
there should be sanctions. There should be digital way to monitor money.
It's all right. It's about time we take a break.
Absolutely.
But when until we further interrogate
very well.
just like I said, Baba is a strategist, and perhaps he can bring pass forward the past and the present, and then just oppose them to see how we can make headways. In case you're just joining us, the program is Daily Politics, and today we're looking at the lack of ideology in political parties and, of course, politicians. And we've been interfacing with Baba Yusuf, a political analyst and policy strategist, and Comrade Issa Arimu, a former unionist, now.
And I'm a member of so
that's right.
I mean my
okay. Thank you very much for staying with us. We'll be back shortly to continue with the conversation. Stay with us. Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at England's squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Thank you very much for staying with us on Daily Politics, reaching you live from Trust TV here in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. And today we're looking at the lack of political ideology among politicians and political parties. Baba Yusuf, just before the break, Comrade was actually overwhelmed, if you like, by the responses of the APC presidential candidate concerning corruption and how to address it. I happened to be there. He was talking about the root cause of corruption, the fact that people are poor, that people are lacking basic requirements of life, and then getting them to look the other way around, when their monies are involved, is a bit difficult. But then addressing these fundamentals would checkmate corruption. In fact, he said, if elected, his administration will have zero tolerance for corruption, just opposing the past and present. What do you make up with this statement?
Brilliant feedback by Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, identifying a critical root cause. It tells us a lot about the person and what he's thinking and how his mind is working. But with due respect, the rot in Nigeria is beyond that particular issue, Shapiu.
Okay.
Majority or chunk of the monies of criminality and corruption in Nigeria is perpetrated by what I call the leadership value chain in Nigeria. And the leadership value chain...
The transactional politics?
No, it's not about what I call the focal point leaders. The focal point leaders are Mr. President, maybe the governor, maybe the senators and all that. But the leadership value chain of those people that are the critical players within the entire leadership framework, without whom the focal point leaders cannot deliver. So safe to say, if a focal point leader in a democratic setting like Nigeria is above board and has all the answers, he will become a caged leader, because if the establishment is corrupt, for example, then the leadership value chain will chain the leader. If you look at the humongous amount of money in the past 23 years that have been flagged as criminal corrupt issues, those people that have been fingered to be part of, or to be indicted or even convicted, majority of them who stole monies that one person has stolen is enough to feed an entire state, for example.
We're talking about 100 billion.
Are not those people who are going home with minimum wage and all that? With all due respect, I respect Nigerians at that strata of the society. Dogged, committed, focused. And according to Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you can actually understand why some people at that level can be so low to take that. So we need to contextualize or expand this conversation and scope of corruption in Nigeria beyond looking at these people that are taking 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira, 5,000 naira, to say, how do we get trillions of naira and billions of dollars fretted away, and all we do is within the leadership value chain. And who are these people within the value chain? They are people like me and you in the civil service, in the public sector, in the private sector, okay? And this chunk of people are the ones that easily point at these people and say, these are the people, they are hungry, so you have to you buy these votes from them. One of the concerns is also this: the same people, with all due respect, have also not been significantly contributing to the political evolution of Nigeria. Albeit they are partakers in drawing us back. What do I mean? Now, except for 2023, we've seen the numbers. Over 96 million have gone to get their PVCs. What remains to be seen is the outcome of voting. Because even in 2018, if you look at the ratio of registered vote versus the people that came out, but I think there's a lot of excitement and there's a lot of awareness. That being said, the upper and lower middle class strata of the society of Nigeria, the same people that are responsible within the leadership value chain failure, do not get engaged in the political process, especially election process. So it's safe to say, even though you may argue, they don't constitute majority of the population or the people that vote, but then their knowledge, the insights, the exposure will guide others in choosing the right leaders moving forward. So I think that point is key, but we must understand that the rot within the system is multidimensional, is multistrata, and that is the way to look at it.
As comrade, raising a very, very important point, looking at the institutions, looking at, the structure, looking at the bureaucracy, the establishment and all of that is beyond an individual. How do we, because if we fail to address this problem at, at that level where, it escalates, if you like, we'll just be like chasing shadow. How do we address, the fundamental problem of corruption in our institutions, in our structural corruption? How do we address it?
Yeah, I think, again, I share the perspective of Bola Ahmed Tinubu on this issue, that you can wrap up his position on this law of corruption to say that we must face development agenda. The reason why corruption is thriving is that we have abandoned development agenda and replaced it with corruption agenda. Nothing allows for vacuum. Now, why will anybody take 109 billion naira in
or 20 trillion, 20 trillion naira missing, and all of that
in an economy in which we don't have light, education? The reason why this was possible was that development agenda is missing. I run an institute now. I'm the Director General of Michael Imodu Labour Institute, close to 2 years. And when I got there, it was rotten, abandoned. And for me, it was a scandal because there's an institute named after us, the founding father of the labor movement, Michael Imodu Labour Institute. In fact, the one that shocked me was our outsourced workers who are earning less than minimum wage. They hold their 1 month, 2 months, 3 months.
Or people that are struggling.
And I told some of my managers, I said, wait, if Imodu had this from his grave, he may just say, close the institute. It shouldn't be in my name again. But why are they doing that? Because they are not interested in the welfare. Am I communicating? Yeah. Which is part of development. Classrooms were abandoned, they were not renovated, roads and the rest of them. So in the process, I don't know what the hell they are doing with little resources they were having. But it is clear, not for development. But I've told you a few. I'm not there to agonize, to organize. Today, we are trying to, and we have made effort to reinvent the institute such that our budget, both overhead, capital, too small for us to even meet the developmental challenges. So, and we've done so much now to really bring the place back. Labor is back to the institute. We're trying to bring by light. So what I'm trying to say is that should apply to the nation. Why was corruption low in the First Republic, Second Republic? We had development agenda, which they were. So the money that wasn't enough, you can't steal it. Am I communicating? And if you did so, you will be sanctioned.
Right. Okay.
So institutions have to be there. First institution, the first thing for me is that let all the development, whoever gets elected with these myriads of challenges in Nigeria, get budget, and that comes to who we elect to run the agenda. Then the second one is that put institutions to stop leakages. Not to allow for proliferating, including theft.
Are these institutions not in place? We have all the institutions, the EFCC, the ICPC,
but the last one, let me now end on this note, Sefiu. You see, the media should also be very careful. The way we magnify, our feelings. There are some sources. I was impressed.
But this is the obvious.
No, let me learn. But they are obvious. But there are also obvious sources. Whether you like it or not, President Buhari has damped corruption, both indeed and not. No, let me. Two former governors, went to jail. The EFCC even could get this conviction and recovery. It's also significant.
And what happened thereafter?
You know
what? Have governors been pardoned?
Yeah, no.
Serving jail terms.
Can't you wait for what I'm saying now? Wait. You know what happened to Blantanco? FIFA. Do you know scandal going on in EU now? How the entire European Parliament, they were overrun by the Arabs by bribing them for hosting rights.
But should that be a model?
No, I'm not saying it's a model. I'm just saying it's everywhere. But you see, there will always be criminals who want to play. But when they are caught, they should be sanctioned. And Nigeria is sanctioning them. EFCC, I mean, have you seen the auctioning of those vehicles? And for me, it's commendable. Returning it back to the public. That should be amplified. So Nigeria is not a republic of corruption in which we all celebrate it. It's been damped. And everybody knows today that you make a choice, you steal, you are caught, you'll be dealt with. So some will still do the rat race.
But are people actually being dealt with? For instance, we're talking about 109 billion
then you talk of the pardon.
And yet we're talking about recovery of 30 billion naira. What happened to the rest?
But it's work in progress. Wait, you talk of those
who have plea bargain.
No, you talk of those who have been pardoned. Even that one, the media should explain that pardon. Let me tell you, they return the loot. They return it. Our law also allows for seeking for clemency, which went to Council of State. But they return it. They returned the money. And they also went to jail. But that is a lesson for whoever wants to come to public office to know that if you are caught, President Buhari is doing his best, others will come in. And I'm happy to hear one candidate saying today, zero tolerance to corruption. Let others say so, but we too should monitor that.
Yeah, but Baba is saying something very fundamental.
Yes,
we'll come back to that, but I would want to get his view on this, because he raised this issue earlier on. It is not about individual, it's about our institutions. Because if the institutions are not working and they are not strengthening, then an individual cannot. We know the posture of President Muhammadu Buhari in terms of fighting corruption. But what happened? The sleazes and all of that is happening under his watch. We're seeing, money is being breached left, right, and center. So how do we strengthen?
Allegedly.
I thought
the one EFCC saw was the one they dealt with. Maybe,
allegedly.
Maybe you have seen what EFCC has seen.
Baba Yusuf, how do we strengthen the institutions, to fight this menace of corruption so that it, outstayed, if you like, or outlive an individual? It becomes institutionalized like we have in other developed climes. In China, the institutions and the mechanisms will not even allow you to steal, because if you do, you know the consequences.
It has to deal with the mechanics and dynamics of our society. The political class are not solely responsible. Like I said, it's a failure of a leadership value chain, and you can take it from the bearers or the foundation of a leadership value chain in society, and that is the home, the father, the mother, and you can now bring it up. The institutions are there, like you mentioned, but don't forget that the institutions have to be run by who? By
individuals.
The people are a product of a society. Today, we are 62 years post-colonial times. We are being managed politically and otherwise by our brothers, our fathers, our uncles, whatnot, Nigerians like us. So, in other words, the leaders are a reflection of the society. In strengthening this institution, total value reorientation, actioning what is supposed to be done. You know, I give you an instance, which we all know. The moment a leader that wants to be benevolent or that wants to action in a democratic setting where you have principles of separations of powers, he may be restrained or constrained by this failure of the leadership value chain, wherein even people from that person's
classical example
can
is
carry
perhaps
placard and say, don't prosecute, you are persecuting our son, when obviously the person has actually committed that offense. So the failure of the the leadership value chain is what has not strengthened the institutions. Now, because of the system of the political system we have adopted and we have said we are going to run with, now we have to be clear to ourselves as Nigerians. Not the political class will not do that for you and I. It is we Nigerians that will decide how do you want to progress. Like Comrade Aremu mentioned, when he came out to contest election, how much could he spend? I'm sure some people were even laughing to say, how much do you have? Why should you come out? So if we as a people view leadership from that commercialized transactional perspective, how do we now hypocritically want to have saints as leaders or transformative leaders as leaders? Are we going to support them? Will we be able to listen and follow? And if people that have been found wanting indeed are found wanting, are we going to allow the law to take its course without colorations of religious connotations, original whatever, to downplay something as critical as corruption, regardless of who or who does
So this calls for total value reorientation.
Absolutely.
And who would drive the process? This is another fundamental question.
Good question, and please let me answer that.
Okay, very quickly.
It starts with you and I, from the home, the churches, the mosques. Let us stop being hypocritical as people. We keep on pointing only at the political class. Don't forget, unless you vote for these people, they will not hold office. Unless you repeatedly vote for them again, they will not hold office. And if they come with looted money to the mosque and it's not collected, or the churches, they will not come back to do the same. So I believe the leadership value chain is all imbibing, and it should start with you and I, and then all across.
Okay, as we round up, we're talking about ideology, among politicians and political parties. We know in the past, we talked about the SDP, NRC era, a little to the right and a little to the left. Before then, we've had the likes of the NPC, the NPP and the rest of them, and we know their ideologies. Today, we're left with two, perhaps, two extremes, the progressives and the Democrats. Some say liberal Democrats, the bourgeois and all of that. Now we have here the progressives who have also been, tested in the last 7 years, and we've seen also what they can do. How do we instill, revive, this conversation around ideology, and not just only to the leaders or those seeking leadership positions, but even to the ordinary Nigerians who drive the process?
I said so before that quantitatively we've made a lot of progress in this democratic dispensation. 18 registered political parties. You gave me the figure, 96 million registered voters. Hundreds of thousands of polling booths. We've also done some transition. Very interesting. I'm quite excited. I'm proud as a Nigerian that we have witnessed democracy. You are very young. Some of us lived under terrible military rule. In fact, some of the issues we are discussing, their legacy crisis linked to military. The military underdeveloped Nigeria. In fact, corrupted Nigeria. I don't want to go back on that one. But that's a different ballgame. So we've done that one. We've done transition. A president died in office. We've democratically transited. One lost election, graciously accepted. President Buhari called it 3-4 times. He became a president. There is a lot to celebrate about. But this demonstration needs quality control. And that's how with ideology. That's the point I'm raising.
So how do we reignite it?
No, we do so. But even that one too, it depends on what we see, Sophia. You are about to arrive there, but later you withdrew. Today, we have two leading parties. One to the left of the center, one to the right. You know, and some of us, we can only be in the left. We are for progressives. That's why we identify with APC for what it takes, because it believes in state to give support if the market fails. You know, it doesn't believe in wholesale privatization, which the other one is projecting, you know, PDP better and the rest of it. So there is some ideology, but we can farm it up.
Maybe Baba Yusuf may have
well, I don't know whether Baba Yusuf no, but we can also debate that one. No, I agree. Okay. But we should also look at the manifestos. It's important. I mean, I read through manifesto of APC, and you can see that it concerned that there should be market.
Even though there are concerns also around the manifesto. Some say it's a product of consultants and what have you.
It's okay.
but let me get your
But the ideas that are there, I mean, it talks of decent wage, minimum wage for workers. Those are the things that attracted us.
Thank you.
That's so, but we can do more.
All right, we can do more. Let me get your last one very quickly. We're rounding up. 30 seconds.
We look forward to it, but I don't think I'm going to finish on a pessimistic note, albeit as a wake-up call. Political ideology or party ideology is not what we may see in the nearest future. We look forward to 2023 election that will bring in or usher in a crop of leaders that will reinvigorate confidence in the polity such that people will align with ideology. Presently, people are trying to look at candidates, their track records and antecedents, hoping that they can get dividends of democracy because almost all the political parties have not endured.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Baba Yusuf, a political analyst, policy strategist. Thank you also, comrade. Once a comrade, always comrade.
Thank you,
comrade
Baba Yusuf
for talking to us
Thank you.
On Trust TV.
Thank you for having us.
On behalf of our guests and the technical crew, this is where we come to the end of these discussions. My name is Shafiu Suleiman. Have yourself a wonderful day ahead.